you have to understand, and this is what I had to understand probably within the past 4 or 5 years, is at some point in your life, like, that ball is going to stop bouncing. You know, you're not going to be able to get out on the field and do the same things you used to do in your teens and your 20s. Like, it's going to have to stop at some point. And with that being said, like, you want to have something you can fall back on, and it doesn't really, if you don't go and get your college degree or education, that's fine, but you want to start to form your identity outside of that sport.
So the question is this: how do thought leaders, school dropouts, former and current students find out what's next after they do or don't cross that stage? If you want to know the secrets to starting the career or business of your dreams, getting paid whatever you desire, and discovering what you do the best with the least amount of effort, then this is the right podcast for you. I'm Shawn Anthony, and this is School's Over. Now What? The podcast. Welcome back to School's Over, Now What? The podcast. And I'm your host, Shawn Anthony. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited for, you clicking that button right now and being tuned in. Each and every single week, we have been consistently giving you some of the most inspiring messages or some people that are just going to take you to the next level. And they're going to help you answer that question we all have asked ourselves at some point. And that school's over. Now what? And I'm just excited just so far, just how far the show has gone, as it constantly is getting ranked higher and higher in iTunes. People are leaving their 5-star ratings, their reviews, guys, and we have created a tribe of people who are truly out here supporting each other, whether they are starting new business ventures or even just, getting their journey beginning in their career. Crazy, amazing stories. And for that, I am truly thankful and truly humbled. So if you're listening right now, and if you haven't left your review, this is the time to do it, because today we are going to take this show to a different type of topic. And I'm excited about the guest that's on today's show. But before I get into that, let's talk about the review of the week. So the review of the week goes to Bree B88. And she wrote, "I wish this was around while I was in college or shortly after I graduated. The guests are motivational, inspiring, and information they provide is priceless." Bree, I appreciate, you taking the time, leaving that review. And that's exactly why we created this show. We wanted to continue to bring you people that had that wisdom, that had that insights, because we know we learn the most from each other. So if you're listening right now, you feel the same way Bree does, I appreciate you and thank you for being a part of this mission. And one thing I just want to share for everybody that's listening right now is the people that are coming to this show want to be a part of this show. And we have some names that are coming within the next few months that you've seen everywhere imaginable. And some people, it's your favorite's favorite, and they're going to hop on a podcast, and I'm just excited for that and the way that it's going to continue to impact thousands of people across the universe, because we are also, guys, we have now been played in several countries. So thank you for that. And we're going to continue to keep bringing you all of that heat that we constantly can. So let's jump right into the reason you clicked it today. Today's episode features Carrick Felix. Guys, this guy is a former NBA player. He's now a tech entrepreneur. He's also a speaker and one heck of a mentor. But what people forget to realize is the journey you have to go on to get to those type of different levels. And in this particular episode, we talk about how he went from special ed to the NBA. How he defeated people who were bullying him to believing in himself, that he could do anything he put his mind to. In life right now, there's something that only you believe in that nobody else believes in. And if you don't get anything from this episode today, I want you to gain the fact that if you can really believe in yourself despite all the odds, all the obstacles, all the people who may be for you or against you, or even those friends who say they got your back, but when it's time to go to war, they're never around. If you can believe in yourself, that dream, that idea, that goal, it's going to be obtainable. Not only will it be obtainable, but you'll be able to flourish. And even if that goal that you got in your mind right now that you want to catch and you get a hold of it, even if it goes away, if you believe in yourself, you'll be able to reinvent yourself. And that's what this guy did. I'm not going to say no more. But this episode is lengthy because it's just a lot of gems. So get ready. Ladies and gentlemen, episode 35 with Carrick Felix. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to School's Over Now with the podcast. And I am here with the one and only Carrick Felix. He is a speaker, entrepreneur, former NBA player, and definitely a good mentor. Carrick, how's it going, man?
What's up, man? Shawn, how are you?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I am excited to get you here on the show.
Man, I'm excited to be here, man. I've been listening to it. Love what you're doing. You know, you're able to give people motivation and influence them in a different way. And I think it's cool. I think it's unique. So thanks for having me on the show, man. Appreciate that.
Man, I appreciate it, man. That's humbling, man. And so for those people that are listening right now, like, this guy has been in so many different places, and this is going to be just an amazing story. But I always want to go back to like the beginning. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood?
Man, childhood. Growing up, I was one of those weird kids that just didn't fit into any group. Mm-hmm. I was the kid who was playing in dirt, who skateboarded, who, was almost like a little rebel, who wanted to make his own band, I wanted to be everything. So, me growing up, it was just, I was in a military family, so I traveled a lot and moved from state to state. So really didn't stay in one spot. It was me, my brothers, my mom, and childhood was good, man. It was good. I was a big dreamer. I was one of those kids who didn't really I wasn't scared of anything, and I was willing to try anything. And one thing I would say, when I was little, I was the kid who never wanted anybody to show me how to do something. I always had to do it or learn myself, which now I would say is completely different. So
definitely, man. So like you're in school, right? And I want to go back to like you're in your school years, the early days, and getting ready throughout. You tend to learn who you are like as you go through middle school, right? So like in middle school, like what was going on with you? Like I know you were skateboarding, I was always playing in the dirt, but I know you were doing so many different things. Like what was it for you?
In middle school, me and my schooling at the beginning, it didn't start off great. I was bullied. I was one of those kids who was always picked on. I was in special ed from, I would say, like second grade all the way up until senior year in high school.
Wow.
So yeah. So it wasn't the best experience, the best time. I just had to figure out how to kind of make it the best for myself. And it was hard because, as a kid, and, when you're around your friends or you're going to class, it can be a little bit embarrassing, and it can be, it can take an emotional toll, and it does on a lot of kids nowadays. But it's just, for me and my story, during my time, like it was a little bit hard at first, but I learned how to embrace my gifts, and I learned how to, just kind of work through things and figure it out. So, the early school days for me, it was a little bit rough, but it was an experience. I enjoyed it.
Man, that's deep, man. So like somebody's listening right now and we've never had a guest on the show, have those type of things where they, were vulnerable enough to say, like for you, like how did you get through like the bullying?
Man, it was tough. It was almost like I tried to suppress it and try not to think about it. You know what I mean? Like people would say things, or people would, you know, tease me or pick on me, whether it's like my reading skills or doing math or just being in special ed. And the biggest thing I did was just try not to pay attention to it, you know, and just as they spoke, I just continued to ignore it and do what I do now. And it was almost like work, you know, obviously it was school, but it was almost like just continue to do what I knew how to do and not worry about what everybody else was thinking. And that's one thing I can say. You know, I'm thankful for my mom, and, you know, my mom just telling me when I was younger, just believe in myself, and people are going to talk about you. People are not going to like you. There's going to be people who love you, but, you know, just be you. And one thing I'm really good at is just being me, man. So I didn't really worry about it too much, man. And just kept going down the journey, down the road. Right. So yeah, it was crazy.
So what's the best lesson your mom ever taught you?
The best lesson my mom has ever taught me, and man, let me tell you, my mom's a wise lady. She's taught me a lot. But one thing I can always say for her is just, she taught me how to just believe and have confidence in myself, you know, and I think that's truly important, as a kid, but just now as, you know, adults, we go through these phases and we go through these little patches in life where it's almost like, I don't want to say we're giving up, but it's almost like, you know, we get to this point and we're just at awe, like we don't know what else to do. And one thing my mom is super big on is faith and her belief in God. And she instilled that on me when I was super young. So just being able to understand you and understand that your abilities, the gifts that you were, you know, given, they're all unique and they're unique to you. So just own them and just have confidence in it and just believe that, you know, the impossible is possible. So that's, my mom literally instilled in me this confidence and just literally just believe anything, just believe in myself and I can do anything. Believe in God first and then believe in myself and anything can happen. So.
Man, that's powerful because, like, a lot of times when you're by yourself and you have no one to turn to, you know, you go back to those lessons. So the fact that your mom was like, hey, look, set you down and say, look, I don't care what's happening at school. Have your faith in God, have your faith in yourself and still remain with that confidence. And you're going to show up in this world, man. And you're showing up.
I'm showing up a little bit. I'm not there yet. I'm not where I want to be, but I got to continue to, you know, push forward and do the things I know how to do. But yeah, man, I mean, you said it right there. It's just when you're alone, and it's those alone times, not the times where you're around a ton of people. It's when you're alone and you have those moments of, you know, the self-talk and like what you're saying to yourself over and over again. It's so impactful. It can be detrimental to, you know, your development and where you're going to with your success. And there's moments, and I know we'll probably end up talking about this down the road, but, you know, there's moments in my life and throughout my journey that, you know, when I was alone, I had to go back, like you said, to those moments of what I was taught when I was younger and go back to those humbling days and go back to the roots, you know, back to where I started and how I was able to continue to bounce forward in the things I was telling myself. So
that's facts, man. That's facts, man. And like for you, right? Like she instilled this confidence in you. You're going through school, right? You're going through second grade. You're going through sixth grade, eighth grade. Like when was it for you that people started to notice you in the term of just sports?
You know, people didn't really start noticing me in sports until I would say probably my sophomore year in high school. Yeah, sophomore year in high school. Kind of had a crazy little growth spurt. I wasn't the tallest when I was in the middle school, and I was a little chubby. But when I got to, I would say when I was graduating my sophomore year in high school, I just my brother had told me, and obviously I know this is not true, but my brother had told me if I would just go to sleep every day, go to the gym, and drink milk, that I would grow. So in my head, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm just going to do that. Like my older brother, that's what he's telling me. I'm going to do it. And then junior year was getting ready to start, and I went from being like 5'6", 5'5" to being like 6'4", 6'3" out of nowhere.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild. And then from there, just like everything just started to slowly come into play, and you know, with me putting in all the work. Because when I was little, like I started high school out being, you know, pretty much almost like the manager on the freshman basketball team. I had to watch all my friends who I grew up with. They all played varsity. And it was crazy because my first basket playing organized basketball was for the opposite team. Like, and I was super juiced too. I was super excited, smiling, laughing down the court. Like, I just got my first bucket, and I'm looking at the bench, and my coach is he has his hand on his face. My teammates are like laughing. And then that's when I realized, like, I scored for the other team. But at the time, it was good, bro. It was good for me.
That's crazy. So if you're listening right now, and I know me in general too, we're all about to listen to your older brother. We're all about to go to sleep, and we're definitely getting milk. What kind of milk was it, man?
Man, listen, whatever type of milk was it worked. So, I'll take some of it right now if I could. But
that's crazy.
It was wild, man.
So you're in school, you had this growth spurt. You almost 6'4", right? 6'4" at the time. Yeah. And so a recruiter started to notice you?
You know, not even school started to notice me, man. I had it, I like to say the hard way, the junkyard dog way. You know, I wasn't top player in the state. I wasn't nationally recruited. I didn't go to a 4-year straight out of college. Like, my basketball career started off me, again, like I said, played freshman basketball, didn't play varsity until about the end of my junior year, starting senior year. And then even at that, like, I wasn't the best player on my team. I wasn't the guy who started. And luckily my senior year, I put in all this work. And it kind of, you know, it manifest forward and became who I was. But even that, you know, it wasn't enough. You know, I went and played the, you know, club ball route and all that stuff. But man, I wasn't a perfect kid. I was a little knucklehead, and I didn't get it at first. Like, now I understand, but when I was younger, like, I didn't get it. Like, I didn't take care of, you know, the things I needed to take care of in school, because I didn't really understand the meaning, or even, I didn't really care for it as much as I got into high school. And unfortunately for me, like, I started, it's crazy. It's crazy because I graduated my master's, and I ended up graduating with like a 3.8, like a 4. Yeah. But if you go back to my high school days, like I had a 1.3 GPA.
What was the difference for you though? That's a huge switch up. Like, what was it for you that had you get more focused like that?
Honestly, I understood that in order for me to be who I wanted to be and do the things I wanted to do, I had to sacrifice and do the things I didn't want to do. You know, I had to do all the things that were hard. I had to, actually study. I had to write the papers that I didn't want to write. I had to do all these little things in order for the bigger picture of my life to kind of, align together. And I didn't get that when I was younger, just because I was, I think with a lot of young kids, they just think, all right, instant, like, I want money, and instant, I want to be, NFL, NBA, NBL, whatever it might be, an actor or, a singer. But, for some things, like, it's a process. You've got to put in certain time, and you got to, unfortunately, I don't want to say it's like a job, but you got to clock in and clock out at certain hours doing certain things in order to make these things happen. And for me, like, I didn't realize, like, I needed my grades to go to college to play basketball so I could get a chance to go to the NBA, because it wasn't like you can go to high school to the NBA when I was playing. Like, they took that rule out. Now they're putting it back in. But They had that rule out, but I wasn't really paying attention. I was just thinking, all right, NBA, NBA, NBA. I want to get rich. I want to get rich. I want to get rich. I want to do all these things. I want to live out my dream. But I wasn't doing the things off the court that I needed to do. So I had to take kind of the long route with having to go to junior college for 2 years in southern Idaho, where I had the best experience of my life. My first year, I ended up breaking my wrist. Yeah. I had a medical cert, so I didn't really play. And then my second year, I ended up having a great year. I became the first junior college player ever to be recruited by Duke and have a scholarship offer and sign, my letter intent to Coach K. So that was, for me, that was a huge, huge, huge step. Now, I didn't end up going there. But
why you didn't go to Duke? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So it's crazy because a lot of people know about it and a lot of people don't know about it. But, the reason why I didn't go to Duke, because again, like, I didn't take care of what I needed to take care of. Like, for me to go to Duke, I needed to finish school. And not that I didn't apply myself, and I did everything I possibly could, but, I got to a point where, there was a math class I needed to take care of. I thought I took care of it, ended up going out to Duke and about to start class, realizing I didn't finish junior college, didn't get my associates, because instead of getting, a passing grade in this math class, I ended up, slacking a little bit at the end and not finishing what I was supposed to finish. And then, long story short, I had to end up going back to school. And then from there, Duke is Duke for a reason. Yeah. And they didn't want to have to bring in the first junior college player on top of, having to tell a story about why I, wasn't going to be successful because I wasn't doing what I needed to do. So it was rough for me at the time because, again, all high school, college players, aspiring athletes, going to Duke is huge. Mm-hmm. And you're right in North Carolina. So, yeah, the rivalry between North Carolina, Duke, and just like the history and stuff like that. But it was just one of those moments where, once again, like, you have to continue to put in the work and the time. And, I had a great career, went to Arizona State, and I think everything happens for a reason. But with that being said, like, I had to fail in order to grow. Like, I had to feel that. I had to feel what it was like to have something complete that could have changed my life kind of taken away from me in order to bounce back and change my mindset a little bit.
Man, that's deep, man. Like, somebody listening right now is a student athlete, and they are trying to buckle down and just get, just listen to every word you just said. What's your biggest advice for that student athlete that's listening right now that may not see the importance in grades and just have their eyes on the NFL or the NBA or the major leagues in general?
Man, the biggest thing I can tell some of these athletes, man, is just, you have to understand, and this is what I had to understand probably within the past 4 or 5 years, is at some point in your life, like, that ball is going to stop bouncing. You're not going to be able to get out on the field and do the same things you used to do in your teens and your 20s. Like, it's going to have to stop at some point. And with that being said, like, you want to have something you can fall back on, and it doesn't really, if you don't go and get your college degree or education, that's fine, but you want to start to form your identity outside of that sport. And that's one thing I had to understand and learn, because it's huge to the development just of the person and self, and understand. And once you can realize and understand that, this game it's a platform. It's a platform that can get you to where you need to go, whether it's NFL, swimming, track, and it's a platform given to you, but you have to like use it for what it is. Like use it and go and get free schooling. Go and get your degree. Go learn what you need to learn. And it's not even necessarily the education part. It's, I always say, like, college taught me about life. Like, it taught me about discipline and what I can and cannot, and what I can accomplish and the things I couldn't, that I couldn't do, that I had to learn how to do. It wasn't necessarily about the, all the X's and O's, all the crazy stuff they're teaching you, all the books. Like, as a college athlete right now, like, they have to understand, like, you got to start building that identity outside of the sport, but you also got to take ownership and understanding the moment.
Right.
And not the moment, but the moment of the opportunity. You know what I mean? So, because I didn't come from, again, I don't come from a family of money. I don't come from generations of wealth. Like, I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here. Like, I'm a walking testament. There's more people than just me walking, but they just have to understand, like, most athletes, college athletes too, they don't really have much either.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand, like, you have to, like, take advantage, because you can change not only your life, but eventually you'll be able to set the stage and the tone for your family that you're trying to create, but also you'll be able to set the tone for others who look up to you.
Man, 100% agree with that, man. And what Carrick is saying right there is you got to seize the opportunity. Like, if you have that moment where you're even able to get an education for free, and a lot of these schools, whether it's Duke or it's Arizona State, a lot of these schools and universities, they cost a whole lot of money for that education. So if you're blessed to get that 4-year ride, maximize.
Yeah, you gotta maximize it. Maximize, man, and just be optimal, man. Just be the best version of yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you have to. And I think that can set the tone for you just in general. So,
right. So, like, you're Arizona State, right? And obviously you're hooping because people are noticing you're at Arizona State. Like, what was the moment where you knew, okay, NBA scouts are starting to look at me?
Honestly, man, I didn't even really notice until, like, I would say it was probably 2 months before probably 2 months before the season was over. I think we were just getting into conference, but I wouldn't say I noticed it, but it was almost like I felt a change in my game. But the only reason why I felt the change in my game because I started to carry myself different over those past 2 years, and it almost like it all just caught up to me. Like, everything I was doing off the court finally caught up to me on the court, and it just flowed. It was just perfect, and I just had this feeling that everything in my life was coming to line. Because I can tell you right now, when I first went to Arizona State, like, for a year and a half, like, I was doing knucklehead things, and I was going to parties, and I was, wasn't being my true self. Like, I was doing things because they were there. I was whether unfortunately I'm a male, so whether it was the females going out, the drinking, I got caught up in just having fun at that moment, but not understanding and realizing, like, hey, this thing goes quick. Like, if you don't grab hold to the opportunity and don't grab hold to, your dreams and what you want to be, like, you're going to allow, outside space to shift and create the person they want instead of be authentic and true to what you want. And, I had to go through some downfalls, man. I had to go through some super downfalls in college. Like, I was my senior year, I was living out of my car. Not only was I living out of my car, like, I was having a child. Like, I was having a child, not even out of college, living out of my car. So, at this point, it was like, I found I was having a child my junior year, but at this point, like, I just became, relentless and almost just had a clear mind, because I understood the damage I was doing to myself, but I also understood like, this moment it only lasts for so long. And when this moment's over, like when I look back at this moment, am I going to say I seized it and did everything I could do? Or am I going to look back and do the I woulda, shoulda, coulda? And I'm the type of person and that I hate looking back and being like, man, I wish I could have did this, or I wish I could have did that. So yeah, man, it was rough, but once I finally understood just about being a genuine person and doing things outside of what my career and the bigger picture was of the NBA and all that stuff, like that's when everything started to line up. Like all the stuff I was doing on the court was good, but I realized it wasn't about all the skill work. It was about how I treated people, saying please and thank you, opening doors. It was literally, as athletes, your coach always say, it's always the little things that win games, the diving on the loose balls, the picking your teammates up. And I didn't believe it until I started actually doing all these little things in my life, and it just carried on. And then from there, it just kind of catapulted.
Hey guys, so let me take a guess. You're enjoying the show. And if that's right, please make sure that you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast right now and tag me at Shawn R. Anthony _. I promise you this is going to help in amazing ways. And while you're at it, hit the 5-star rating and subscribe. With that being said, guys, let's get back to the show. Man, so the little things started to catch you up to the bigger things in life. But I can only imagine, like, as you're Arizona State and you're not in the NBA yet, and a lot is going on with your life, you're getting involved in the wrong things. And how was it when you were sleeping in that car and you knew you had, a beautiful child on the way? Like, what was the emotions that you were feeling? Because I know so many people are in school and, stuff happens. And you don't always make it out of college without having a child. So what was the emotions that Carrick was feeling?
I was scared. I felt like a failure, for many different reasons. Felt like a failure to my mother because obviously she's super religious, and not having a child, out of wedlock and not being married, that was a super big thing that I didn't, I felt kind of shameful for it. And, not even that, I felt hurt, confused, and lost, and lost. And, there's times I would be in the car, I would go and bounce on someone's couch, and I would just literally just sit there and cry, and I know I sound like a little baby now, but, I would sit there and cry and cry because, I was crying because I wanted more, and I wanted to change, and I wanted different. And I knew, and it was just all the pain and everything built up. And I knew that where I was now wasn't where I was going to end up. It was just a time I had to get through and learn from. So, those times it was emotional, man. It was crazy. I had ups and downs. And I think the biggest thing for me was nobody knew. So it was almost like I was living a lie, but it was almost like I was trapped in my own self. And like, so no one really knew what was going on because being, again, like you're saying, being an athlete and being a high level athlete, people are looking at me like, all right, I should be happy. I'm playing on the court and doing all this stuff. But I remember a specific time that for me, it changed my life and helped me build a relationship with one of my good mentors now, Dietrich Taylor, who's over there coaching at Cal State Fullerton. He was my assistant coach at Arizona State. But, there's this one specific time when I just got done playing. We played U of A, which if people know the Pac, well, back then it was the Pac-10, but turned into the Pac-12. So if anybody knows the conference, Arizona versus Arizona State, like that was a huge game.
Yeah.
And, that game, I had the game of my life. I ended up 25 and then like 15 and ended up, being like the player of the game. And, they end up interviewing me and all this stuff after the game. And, I'm smiling, I'm fine. And it's funny because every time I go look at the video, I just look at myself and I can see, I understand at the moment when I'm looking at the video of the interview, like what's going on in my head, but nobody else does. So after that game, like I ended up walking out to the parking lot. And at this point, like, I'm living in my car again, like I was telling you, I'm just having a child, but I've gone so many months of just hiding everything that was going on in my life. I just went so many months of hiding things. And then my coach just like put his hand on me and was like, hey, like, is there anything going on? You want to talk to me? And literally I just broke down in the middle of the parking lot, just like on a car, just broke down to him in tears. And, you know, my mom ended up coming and kind of picked me up as well. But, you know, I realized at that point, like, it's okay to talk to people and ask for help. And this is one thing my mom always said to me. It was like, a closed mouth will always go unfed. And I take that in consideration with anything I do, because if you don't voice what's going on, or if you don't, you know, ask for help or whatever you need, like direction, like, you're not going to get it. And unfortunately, I realized that there's only so many people in this world that are like, can be successful alone. Yeah. And there's only so many, but most of the people who are successful, they don't do it themselves.
100% agree with that. I've been privileged enough to just speak with so many influencers and people making brands and making millions of dollars. And the most common thing that everyone says is that they would be nothing if they ever did it by themselves. So I 100% agree with everything you just said.
Yep. And I had to realize that. And again, that was a life-changing moment for me, and just willing to, you know, start just being more vulnerable, just being open, but just trying to live my authentic self, man. And I think that was for me in college. That's what it was all about.
Man. Yeah. So like you had this awesome game at Arizona State. You're like 25 and 15, right? Yeah. And you have this breakdown, and you come up from this breakdown with a whole new focus, right? And you're just determined to take all those things that you were ashamed of, and shape yourself to make them things that you're proud of. How did it feel on NBA draft night?
Man, it was such a surreal feeling, man. It was so surreal because as a kid, and I even have recordings still today, I always told myself, you know, I would get drafted, and me and my friends always used to joke around when they walk on stage, pretending like we're putting on like the draft day hats and all that stuff and what team we're playing for. And when my name got called, you know, I didn't want to go out to the draft night because I wasn't really sure if I would get drafted or not, because I kind of was a late bloomer. And I didn't want to have a big party or anything. And I was just sitting at home, and I remember my daughter was sick, and I was holding her, and for some reason I wouldn't even watch the TV. I was just upstairs holding my daughter in the bed, and we were just like, I was feeding her a bottle or something. I think she was sick. And then they told me to go downstairs and check out the TV. And when I heard my name called, it was so surreal that I didn't even embrace the moment with my family. Like, I just I literally handed off my daughter like a football to my mom and like walked outside. It was so crazy, man. And literally the minute I walked outside, I just broke down in tears and just literally just started praying and thanking God, you know, and thanking God because through it all, I know, and I believe, you know, I'm very stay true to my faith and my belief in God. And I just feel like through him, all things are possible. And my whole life, you know, I fought for something. And, you know, it was just a big thing for me just not to give up and let go of my faith. And I felt like my faith pulled me, you know, all the way up to that point of achieving that. And I was just so thankful, man. It was just such a surreal feeling. Such a surreal feeling.
That's crazy.
The red-eye flight, though, was crazy. That was the crazy part.
So how soon after you get drafted are you like gone?
I mean, you're gone like literally within the next days. Like I was gone that day. Like I got drafted and they literally called. It was like, hey, there's a flight at 11:30. Got to be on it. And I was like, I have my haircut. Yeah, I was like, I have my haircut. Like, what are you saying? I got to be on this flight. So I ended up getting on this flight to head to Cleveland. for my press conference and all that stuff. And it was a crazy time, especially being that young and just going through all the fiasco and fanatics and stuff with all that stuff. But man, I was just, such a surreal feeling. I was so blessed. And so I was excited, man. I just took it, man. Just took the moment and ran with it.
That's crazy. So you're in Cleveland, and from what I understand, like you're in the NBA, and you managed to play for several different teams. What was it like? What was your journey like in the NBA? How did you go from the NBA to being, the speaker and the mentor that you are today?
Oh man, so that journey is something else. It's one of a kind, I like to say, but getting drafted like I said, it was a blessing. And then after being drafted, I ended up playing for a few different teams. I ended up playing for Cleveland Cavaliers, Utah Jazz, the Golden State Warriors and their affiliate team. Ended up playing for the Brooklyn Nets affiliate team, and then recently played for the Washington Wizards in a team out in Australia called Melbourne United this past year. So throughout, playing for these teams, my first year in the NBA when I was playing with the Cavs, like I was a kid, like you go from playing basketball, going to school to now it's just like literally basketball every single day. And that's your job. That's what you do. So, my experience, I wouldn't even say my experience was great. I just didn't know, like I still couldn't grasp hold to what was really going on in the moment. Because everything's just so on the go. At this point, I haven't stopped. So first year kind of went, I had an okay year, ended up not playing half the year because I ended up getting injured. And then LeBron ended up coming to Cleveland. Everyone kind of ended up getting traded and stuff like that. So I ended up getting traded to the Utah Jazz, was with the Jazz for a little bit, and they ended up waiving me. And when they ended up waiving me, I still was moving 1,000 miles per hour. I still haven't stopped since college. I was just basketball, traveling. Because in NBA, you got 82 games.
Wow.
Yeah, you got 82 game season. So you may be gone for 2 weeks and you may be in your apartment for literally 3 days out the month, if not. Like, I had an apartment for no reason, pretty much. I literally had a bed and a couch and a TV. That was it. Never was in there. But, from being with the Utah Jazz after they waived me, I ended up going to Golden State, and they had put me with their affiliate team, and I ended up playing with the Santa Cruz Warriors. And within my first 3 games, I had went up for a dunk, and I had so much force behind my jump that I ended up breaking my kneecap in 2 pieces.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I go from building up my career in high school to having to start over pretty much in junior college, having to build it back up, getting to the NBA, accomplishing this big dream. And, I have everything I've ever wanted. And then it all kind of just gets stripped away from me at this point. And this was in 2015. Yeah, it was 14. It was like 2014 this happened. So, I was out at this point for, yikes, I would say 2.5, almost 3 years. So I was taken away from the game. And this, like, when I got taken away from the game, like it opened my eyes to a lot, but there was a big part of that time when, I lost who I was. I lost myself. I lost my belief. I lost my trust in other people. And I was such at a down place, and I'm so depressed that, I went through some of those mental thoughts of not wanting to be here and this and that, because my whole life, like I told you before, like my whole life, I shaped my identity around the game. So when it got taken away from me, in my mind, I was just like, what else am I going to do? Like, I have no idea. I've never thought of, doing this once I started playing groups. Like,
so how did you like reinvent yourself?
Man, it was a journey, man. It was a journey. But man, I just had to really asked myself, and, it was almost like I had a moment. And it was like my birthday. One of my friends came down and I was talking to him and he was like, oh, you're not really yourself. And obviously when other people are telling you and when you're in a different set of mind, it's like, oh, whatever, I'm not listening to you. Like, you're just talking. But I had woke up the next day after he said that. And this is like probably a year and a half after the injury. And I looked at myself in the mirror, man. And I was just like, man, like, who is this guy? Like, I'm a super clean cut guy. I take care of myself. I'm super healthy. And I was looking at myself in the mirror, and the reflection I got back wasn't me. It wasn't me. So I just had to start to really dig into myself and fight all the negative and fight all the, all the bad energy that was around me, and try and just push it out to start thinking about, all right, what does Carrick want? Not what does Carrick want to do for other people, and what do people want Carrick to be? Like, what is Carrick, like, who does Carrick want to be? When this is all said and done, like, what kind of father do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? Where do you want your career to go? And I just started thinking about things I wanted to do and things I wanted to try. And once I started to do that and really started to pay attention to myself, because I didn't realize like what all my motivation and stuff came from before, until I got injured. And then through that point, I just had to realize, like, all right, what's made for Carrick? Like, what can Carrick do for himself to make himself happy? Because if I can't be happy myself, then I can't make others happy. So I started to do some stuff in tech, because I've always been curious and interested in tech, and ended up building an application, a mobile application, which was like an online concierge service for outdoor recreational equipment. And that's just allowed people to like book and rent jet skis, boats, bikes, just at a click of a button. And that was a fun process, because I got to know about myself outside of basketball. But then, I've always had this thing, and probably you can tell now, I talk a lot. I talk a lot. Once you get me going, it's hard to get me to stop a little bit. But, I've always had this thing where, I've people would come to me, and I would talk to kids, and I would, talk to my teams and talk to, family members and stuff like that. But I always had this thing of just like, I enjoyed watching other people succeed. I enjoyed watching, other people get to their best versions. And I just started from that point. I started to do speaking, and it's funny because my first speaking event was in front of like 2,500 people, and I've never spoke before.
Oh man. Yeah. How'd you get over that? How'd you get over 2,500 people if you've never done it before? How was that?
No, man, it was crazy. It was almost like, so I always think of like manifestation, and like bring in my mind the things I want to be put out in the world, and speak it into existence. So I was telling one of my coaches at the time, like, hey, I want to do the speaking thing. He's like, all right, well, you can do the speaking thing. He's like, why don't you just go try it out? Just go try it out, see if you like it. I was like, I don't know where to try it out. He's like, I don't know. He's like, let me make some calls, or see if you can make some calls. So I called my old high school. And so I'm just like, all right, you guys mind if I come in and speak? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. Long story short, I think they were telling me it was going to be like, oh, it'll be just like the freshman class, like, so you can practice. It'd be like 200 people, if not less. So I was like, all right, cool. I walk in there, and literally this is the whole entire school. And at this it's gotten bigger. So I'm over here just like, I'm shaking, and I'm just like super nervous. Don't really know what to say. And then I just literally, I went into this zone, and it's almost like the athletic version of me just kind of came into the light and just kind of took over. But I went to the zone, and in the zone, man, I just locked in, and I just did what I wanted to do from the heart. Like, I feel like a lot of people write scripts and do all this stuff. And I do write, and sometimes what I'm going to talk about and speak about, but most of the time, like I like doing it from the heart, because I just feel like it's more direct. It
Yes.
can connect more with the crowd, and it's connect more with people and what they're going through now, instead of just, a script. So, that's how I kind of got through the nervousness, man. And I just let it flow, man. Let God take over. Let, my focus take over, and just rocked it out, man.
Yeah, man. You always got to kind of like, what I like about what you just said, it's so important to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do in the world. Manifest it and just watch it show up, and don't be afraid to tell anybody. That's what I like so much about what you said. You said, hey, look, man, I want to do this. And if you're listening to this right now, it's okay to say to somebody, hey, I want to go be the best at this, because what you'll find out, what's going to happen next, is it's going to start to come towards you.
Yes. It's going to start coming towards you. And literally, I've learned that I'm going to cast out and set to one direction of where I want to go. But as I go, like, other opportunities are going to form if I'm doing what I need to do. Like, exactly. Other things will come. So
exactly. So Carrick, we might ask you the question we ask every single person that's ever been on this podcast, and that is, if you was that current or former student, somebody that just dropped out, and was asking yourself the question of the show: school's over, now what? What advice would you give?
The advice that I would give if someone, is in that situation and it's school over, now what? I mean, I would say it's never over until you say it's over. Like, not meaning the school, but just meaning to just hone in on whatever that thing is for you. Like, start finding the things that make you happy. Start trying, different things, new ideas, and don't be afraid what other people think. Like, you're going to fail. You're going to have some good times, some bad times. You're going to fail. You're going to succeed. People are going to like you, not like you. Just do what you feel like you need to do for you, because it'll make a whole difference when it comes to how others, treat you or go about being around what you've created. So to stay true to yourself, to stay true to yourself and love yourself, and really take the time to try and find that thing that makes you literally hop out of bed every day.
Man.
Run. Don't look back.
Love it, man. Love it. Love it. And guys, what he's just said, and I thank you so much for just dropping so much gems right there. I mean, because you gotta go after it, man. You gotta be true to yourself while you go after it, so that when you obtain it, you're no longer being an imposter. You're letting people see who you are, and you're showing up at your highest level, man. I appreciate you so much for being on the show today.
Man, I appreciate you having me, man. I'm really grateful for it, and hopefully we can keep this up, get this relationship going, and get some more stuff done.
Oh, man, you already know, man. We're definitely staying in contact. And so people that are listening to you right now, where can they find out more about you? Where are you at?
So people that are listening right now, you guys can head over to my Instagram, which is just my name. It's Carrick_Felix. And then you can also go check out my website. It's imcfamily.com. And then you guys can connect to me, talk to me, and I'm pretty responsive. So,
man, I appreciate you. And for those that are listening, always remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it. Yo, what you think? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I want to know what you learned. So if you wouldn't mind, would you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast on your phone right now? Upload to your Instagram stories, tag me at Shawn R. Anthony _, and then let me know in that Instagram story what is one thing that you learned. I love hearing from you, my listeners, thought leaders, former or current students all around the world. Let me know, and while you're doing this, go inside the podcast app, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and a 5-star rating. Again, this helps us reach more people. And if you want to be a part of this mission, helping us change the world one person at a time, it makes a massive difference by you leaving a review. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week. And remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.